How about that cuppa now then?
It is the Doctor. It's morphing time. Red Dalek. Dalek. Orange Dalek. Yellow Dalek. White Dalek. Exterminate.
Okay.
Welcome, soldiers, prime ministers, and Scotsmen, to the 120th episode of an Unearthly Podcast, streaming live on Wednesday, the 19th of August. And today we are featuring 2015. Today we're featuring, hold up, my notes here say Power of the Daleks by David Whittaker. That's not right. Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, Pinocchio. Oh, here it is. Victory of the Daleks by Mark Gatiss. I am Bill Sylvia, the Man in Black. And with me are Mad Matt Winchell.
Hello.
Randy Ronson McCulloch.
Always a pleasure.
And Tim the Enchanter Sheridan.
I got better.
Erin's not joining us tonight because it is literally the day before GeekCon setup, and she still has a ton of work to do.
We all have a ton of work to do.
I am just barely out of needing to do a bunch of work, so I get to do this podcast and do laundry before I sleep.
That's good.
Yeah, everyone's going to be extra busy this week, and everyone who is in the Madison area, make sure, come and visit our group at GeekCon. I will not be there this year, unfortunately, but everybody else will.
Boo!
And they are punishing me by having nicer weather than me, from all accounts.
Yeah.
That's terrible.
That's your own fault, Bill.
We've had semi-miserable weather here most of August. I know our air conditioning has been running for like 2 weeks, and we just finally managed to shut it down today. Because when it hasn't been hot, it's been humid.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we've been pretty much having both nonstop. I think we had one day where we could turn the AC off.
We're going to have like 2 or 3 of them.
Yeah, we're good here for a good chunk of the week. Unfortunately, tomorrow afternoon our AC goes back on, but it goes to low because we're not going to be here. But we don't want it to suddenly turn hot and like French roast the cats.
Yeah, that would not be good.
Unless you want to French toast the cats. And by that I mean feeding them French toast.
That's usually not what French toast the cats means, Tim.
It means we're going to dip them in batter, Tim.
So, we should probably go on to our news.
Yeah.
Probably.
And let's start with birthdays. We have several birthdays that are actually tomorrow, but since it's pretty darn close, we'll go ahead and talk about those. First of all would be the late, great Anthony Ainley, who would have been 83 this year. Unfortunately, of course, Anthony Ainley is dead. Anthony Ainley, of course, was the camp master during the 80s, starting with Keeper of Traken and established in Logopolis, and then was the master through the 5th, 6th, and 7th Doctor era.
I'm surprised he never appeared in a fan production in which they named his character Camp Master.
I know, he never showed up into anything. Once Doctor Who was done, he was kind of done with the role.
Yeah, well, as far as I can tell, he was done with television at that point. I don't know if he did theater or what after that, but Doctor Who seems to be his last role.
Yeah, I think he was getting sick. Because I know he eventually did die. So
That was
I know.
15 years later, so I don't know.
I know,
what
though. I
was
think
the
he
time.
was ill for a while, though. I think he had what did he have? Did he have cancer?
I honestly do not know. It might have been cancer, just judging by his career. But
Well, I'm just wondering if he's one of those Doctor Who met people who worked in the BBC in the 80s and died of cancer.
I
Again,
googled
his
Anthony
career.
Ainley cause of death, and I get the big word cancer across my Google screen.
So yeah, that appears to be no mystery.
Well, yeah. Yeah, caught obituary list his death as cancer. So yeah, you worked during that time in those studios, and you gotta start going to your doctors for regular screenings. That's all I have to say. Anyway, speaking of the Seventh Doctor, Sylvester McCoy, birthday is also tomorrow, and he will be turning 72. Known, of course, as the Seventh Doctor, and of course, people will know him more frequently these days as Radagast the Brown in the Hobbit trilogy.
Because he was in a movie, you know. 3 of them.
I'm in the movie, you know.
Yes.
And his most popular cohort, Sophie Aldred, also known as Ace, turned 52, same day. That would have been interesting to work on that set on August 19th.
Could you just imagine if they were filming Survival on August 20th, which I doubt happened, but if they did, or like that week,
They'd have to throw a hell of a birthday party.
right?
Yeah. Or filming one of the Doctor Who anniversary specials.
Although, speaking of which, interestingly enough, I can find no evidence, photographic or otherwise, that Sophie Aldred and Anthony Ainley were ever on set on the same day. So either they weren't on screen on Survival at the same time, and there are no photos of them together. So I'm kind of wondering about that.
Yeah, I don't remember a scene where they were together.
I rewatched the serial today. They're never on screen at the same time.
Interesting.
Maybe Ace is secretly a disguise of the Masters.
Maybe Ace and the Master are the same person?
So you're saying that Ace has a split personality disorder that turns her into an older guy?
I think I might have broke Rand. He hasn't said anything.
It's happened.
No. I'm just calculating how much I'm going to have to hurt the both of you.
Well, I will not be coming to GeekCon this weekend, so you can't hurt me there.
Gotta catch me first.
Mm-hmm.
I know where you sleep, Matt.
Only for the weekend, buddy.
You have to sleep sometime.
I'm going up to Danger and laughing at it.
He'll sleep when you're at the viewings table.
Yeah, here's the thing, though. Viewing shifts are only 3 hours.
I can catch 3 hours of sleep and get up again.
Anyway, Tim, want to move us on to our other 2 sci-fi birthdays?
Yeah, other birthdays, going from Doctor Who to Star Trek. Jonathan Frakes celebrates his 63rd birthday today. You will know him as Commander William T. Riker from Star Trek: The Next Generation.
Or that guy from all those alien autopsy specials in the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
Or as the voice of David Xanatos in Gargoyles.
Also true.
Yes.
Or that dude with the beard.
Yep. You gotta have the beard. And it says he is only one of only 2 actors to appear in 4 different Trek series, tied with Majel Barrett. He appeared in Deep Space Nine, Voyager, and Enterprise, in addition to The Next Generation.
He was... Oh, that's right. He was in the finale. I
You forgot about that. You forgot about that episode, didn't you?
Majel Barrett still wins because she's been in every Star Trek series.
Hold up. If you're counting the movies as another series, Leonard Nimoy should be on that list, too.
Ooh.
Oh, that's... In addition,
the new movies, I mean, because they are a new series.
Technically,
he
yeah.
is also was the director of Star Trek First Contact, which is considered the best of the Next Generation movies.
Yeah, that was the best of them.
I agree.
No argument here.
Another science fiction birthday today, Gene Roddenberry, who is best known for the series Andromeda starring Kevin Sorbo, would have turned 94 today. Okay. Of course, Gene passed away in the early 90s, but his legacy will live on. And I'm just Josh, and I know everyone knows he created Star Trek. I'm just...
Yeah, he's a man. He had an idea that he defined to the creators or to the hires up at the studios as being wagon train to the stars, and that became Star Trek: The Original Series.
Ironically, even in 2002, the producers at Fox did not believe that the audience could withstand Western ideas mixing with sci-fi.
Well, that's Fox, and they're still at 1895.
All right, moving on to a little bit less happy news regarding people from popular 60s television. Yvonne Craig, who played Batgirl in the Adam West Batman, and featured as recently as the man from U.N.C.L.E. in her acting career, recently died at the age of 78 due to complications related to breast cancer. I actually did not stop and see what I did not stop and see what actual day that was. Let me see. She died on Monday.
So yeah, that's sad news. I mean, that's Batgirl. I'm sure many people in the 60s and 70s had a bit of a crush on Yvonne Craig.
Oh, I'm sure.
And 78 is not that big 8-0 that we call a good run, so...
Right.
Yeah.
Kind of sad. So let's move on to our direct Doctor Who news. And the first thing is, in a recent issue of SFX, which is out today, Stephen Moffat does a series or an episode-by-episode breakdown of basically the upcoming series.
Supposedly.
Spoiler-free, but it is now confirmed that yes, there is more two-parters than the last season. And he describes this as the glory years of the Doctor and Clara. Here's a quick look at what he says. Episodes 1 and 2 form a doubleheader that starts with the Doctor missing and involves a search to find him. Stephen refers to it as Star Warsy. This is the episode that we have mentioned. Looks like winds up with a city with Daleks and Missy. So that's kind of interesting. Episodes 3 and 4 features an underwater base full of ghosts.
So that's where all those running through corridor scenes in the trailers come from.
With Stephen making interesting references to the idea that time travel could potentially let you meet your own ghost. He's quoted as saying, "I've always wanted to do ghosts in Doctor Who. Ghosts plus time travel always strikes me as a very strange idea. We'll have to see." Episode 5, on which Stephen teams with Series 8 writer Jamie Matheson, features Vikings, and it's where Doctor Who meets Maisie Williams, and is described as a really good Dr. Clara one. It's quite emotional. Episode 6, by Torchwood writer Catherine Trigana, features Rufus Hound as a highwayman and involves a very different take on Doctor Who. It's an eloquent, heartfelt, and very character-driven episode. Very different take on Doctor Who makes me full of worry.
Yeah.
But we'll see. It is by a Torchwood writer.
They did pretty good.
Episode 7 and 8 by Series 8 writer Peter Harness are another two-parter that sees the return of the Zygons. It feels like we did a finale in the middle of the show, Stephen reveals. It's got that kind of scale and gravitas and fun. And real drama. I constructed, in part, the 50th anniversary story as a prequel for it, as a prologue. So, we're going to have to see how that works. Episode 9 is a Mark Gatiss script that is, quote, unusual, a very unique idea for Doctor Who. This makes me full of worry because Mark Gatiss doing an unusual, unique idea is usually fail. Episode 10 is from a new Who writer called Sarah Dollard, who's worked on BBC's The Game, and Stephen simply says, it's a terrific idea. It leapt out as me as, why haven't we done this already? This is so Doctor Who, and we should be doing this immediately. And as for the finale episodes 11 and 12, he says, I'm not saying much about them, but there's plenty to say, God knows. Of course, because he doesn't want to spoiler the season ending.
Of course.
Of course.
Wants to poke us with a stick.
And of course, as I mentioned, this is an SFX magazine coming out that was just released today. And of course, Series 9 began September 19th.
Yep. Well, speaking of Series 9, are we moving on?
Yes.
All right. So, BBC America has confirmed the time for The Magician's Apprentice. It will air Saturday, September 19th at 9 Eastern, 8 Central on BBC America.
Which means... Oh, go ahead.
At the now traditional evening primetime slot on the channel.
Yep, that means we are getting it basically 6 hours behind England, or 6 or 7 hours behind England, which is an acceptable time differential. Not like, the old 2 to 3 months behind we used to get with Sci-Fi Channel.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, looking
And
at that
definitely-
time, unfortunately, it won't be simulcast, but same day at least.
Yeah, if simulcast, we'd be getting it at 1, 2 p.m., 1, 2,
Right.
3 o'clock, somewhere in there, and that's not really prime time for us, so that's when people are out on Saturdays doing stuff.
See, and that's... When I was growing up, you were still watching Saturday morning cartoons at that time.
Don't even talk to me
Pending.
about Saturday morning cartoons, Bill. They don't exist anymore.
You forget that, Bill. The children
Hey,
of this generation,
home
they're
from
such
work
sad
at
children.
I get home from work at 5 o'clock and go to my streaming sites and watch Saturday morning cartoons.
Good
Yes,
for you.
I know. But we are literally the last generation to have Saturday morning cartoons. That makes me sad.
Yeah.
That makes me kind of sad, too.
Well, let's cheer us up with some more news from Series 9. Sorry, I don't want to jump a year ahead. In this case, Blogger Who recently visited the set and picked up some information. Let's see here. Trying to distinguish what was not in Moffat's interviews there. They do specifically mention that the girl who died will feature Vikings in space, whereas I think we were originally just new Vikings, so we can assume there are sci-fi elements in there. Not too much of a surprise considering we knew there'd be cat people.
Well, yeah, we actually knew some of this was going on because remember the fact that we looked at that picture of Odin and saw he had like what looked to be like a cyber eye essentially and a
Right. That as well.
Mm-hmm.
That's true. Thor would probably count as a Viking in space, even the Marvel version.
Well, technically, yeah, because they consider the whole Asgardians to be, aliens from a different plane, essentially.
We do get titles for episodes 7 and 8. That is Invasion of the Zygons and Inversion of the Zygons.
Better than Perversion of the Zygons.
Which does officially mean that all 4 stories featuring the Zygons are X of the Y stories. Terror of the Zygons, Day of the Doctor, and these 2.
Yep.
Which
means, of
probably
course,
cannot say 5 times fast.
Say what? Invasion of the Zygons
inversion of the Zygons.
Invasion of the Zygons.
Inversion, potato, let's call the whole thing off.
Their report does mention that it features the whole world and rogue Zygons. So apparently these are Zygons going against the agreement that was come to in Day of the Doctor.
Mm.
The renegade Zygons.
Episode 9, Doctor Who was able to confirm that the new style they were talking about is that this will be a found footage episode.
Oh.
So I'm just hoping it's much better than the last found footage sci-fi feature that I saw, because Apollo 18 was terribad.
I've never liked the entire found footage concept.
The best found footage I've seen was I tolerated it. So I agree with you there. This is not going to be one of my favorite episodes. I can already tell you that. It's noting that controversially this episode might not feature the Doctor Who title sequence.
Dun dun dun.
Well, then how do we know it's a Doctor Who?
Things that make me want to hit Moffat with a brick.
I was kind of questioning first of all, what they mean by might not. So where did they get this information and what it would feature instead? For instance, Death in Heaven technically did not feature the Doctor Who title sequence because it was a unique sequence. I don't know if that really counts.
Okay, so this is a found footage episode written by Mark Gatiss.
Yes. I have no idea if he can write found footage or not.
I think the question is going to become, as to episode 9, will it actually hit lower on our credits than Journey to the Center of the TARDIS?
Oh, bloody hell.
Do we? I don't know. Do we have a found footage fan between the 5 of us?
Paranormal Activity 1 was pretty good.
I have fond memories of the Blair Witch Project.
I hear that one was pretty good too, but beyond that
was the one that I tolerated.
No, Paranormal Activity 1 was pretty good, and I hear 2 was pretty decent as well. It's afterwards that the entire thing just went off its rocker, and kept also using the found footage bullshit.
Moving on to the next bit here, episode 10 is described as Invasion of Invisible Streets.
What?
Okay.
I believe this is also our Rigsy episode.
Okay.
And the big news about the finale two-parter is that episode 11 will feature only one actor, which is Peter Capaldi. So there's all kinds of ways this could either be very interesting or very bad. We really have no idea what they have planned for that, but he is the only actor that will be appearing in that episode.
Oh boy. Sounds like the rest of it is pretty decent until we hit episode 9, and then all of a sudden it just starts to tumble downhill.
Well, episode 11 might include a lot of stock footage. That might be a reason why it's a one-hander.
I'm kind of wondering if it's like a journey through the Doctor's subconscious or something like that.
That's possible. It's also possible that it is going to be dealing with a lot of stuff that's leading up to finding Gallifrey, which seems to be part of where they're going this year. Because we know at least at one point they're going to deal with how the Doctor got involved in the 50th anniversary special. That might be here. That might be in the invasion and version of the Zygons.
Well, that's true. It could be the Doctor speaking with stock footage from the previous 11 Doctors.
Correct. That's what I'm wondering.
That could be an interesting possibility, I guess, but I don't know. Especially not episode 9 kind of leaves me going, I don't know about this anymore.
The invasion of the invisible streets that really depends on how it's done.
I do want to say. Oh, sorry.
At the moment, it looks like a bizarre, weird idea. Episode 9 could be decent. I mean, we have seen good stuff from Gatiss. It's just not looking good at this point. Episode 10 looks like a weird idea, but we really do not have enough information to go on at the moment.
One way that I think episode 9 might be able to work is if, rather than being completely found footage to the point where the episode takes you out of the format, if it's something like the Doctor is coming along looking at screens trying to investigate what's going on, and that's where you get the found footage.
Well, the fact that they're not showing the Doctor Who logo tells me that, or they're thinking about not showing the Doctor Who logo tells me that that's not what they're doing.
True. And that does wrap up our Series 9 news for today.
Well, a big thud. So, moving on.
Moving on. Okay, so other recent news is that the BBC has announced Mission Dalek, a new project that is part of their Make It Digital campaign. They asked fans to submit their digital stories, whether animated, cosplayed, or a variety of other options, as long as it's under 90 seconds in length. So, a minute and a half. The BBC is supplying a range of digital assets that can be used for this. You can upload your entry to any social media platform or send a link via email to missiondalek@bbc.co.uk with the subject line Mission Dalek Celebration before Wednesday, the 9th of September. Jesus, that's not a lot of time.
I would note that the date that they gave is for the UK version that has the prize. They actually did not give any date for the international, so I'm thinking they might still be collecting entries after then, but there's really no way to tell based on the site, at least not that I could find. So that's why I gave you that date.
Okay. And for more information, you can view the Doctor's 2,000-year diary at the Mission Dalek page. UK fans have had the possibility to win a trip to the Doctor Who set and meet Peter Capaldi.
You do realize that we're about to have a convention. We could probably do something if we plan it very, very well.
Yeah, but, the fact that the convention starts tomorrow, and we're hearing about this today and haven't had a chance to hash something together, means probably not, Matt.
It doesn't need to be something over
Not there, yeah. I would more be thinking if you were to animate something based on a script that we collaboratively wrote after the convention ends. But then again, I know you guys will probably need a few days to recoup, so there might not be time for that.
It depends. Can everyone get onto Gary's mod?
Yeah, I mean, what animation tool are you using?
Well, for just implanting Daleks with live action, I could easily just green screen a Dalek. That's not hard at all. And as for Gary's mod, there's a whole variety of different characters and so forth you can be, and a lot of them are generic humans. It's just a matter of setting up a location and a few ideas as to what's supposed to be going on, and then involve Daleks.
I'll definitely be doing more research into this and discussing that with you guys after over time after the podcast, not necessarily tonight.
Yeah.
But for those listening, I mean, it'll be by the time this is on YouTube, it'll be even closer to the deadline. But you should still have at least a week, if not more, to go ahead and get your submissions in. They don't seem to. They're a little more focused on the content than the quality. It seems they want to make this available for people who aren't, exactly experts at anything computer, just so that they're doing some sort of digital submission, which is a lot of what the BBC's been focusing on. Increasing literacy, computer literacy, and things related to that widespread. So that does seem to be in line with their goals of late. It'll be interesting to see what comes of this, if they do some sort of publication regarding it or what.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well,
we'll have to see. We'll look into it later. For those of you who are interested, here's the details as far as we can see of them right now. If you want to, you're a creative little head, you can go right ahead and give it a try.
I'm worried because it takes me 6 months to write a chapter.
Well, writing's easy if you don't worry about context. Anyway, speaking of writing, due to real life in the form of David McEntie's mother-in-law's dying and associated demands on the author's time, Candy Jar Books has released a revised schedule for the upcoming series of Lethbridge Stewart novels, which would document the time Alistair Gordon Lethbridge Stewart spent before he became the Brigadier. The Schizoid Earth, written by David McEntee, with a cover by...
It would be McKinty. You'll notice there's no M-A-C, it's M-C-I, McInty. I'm sorry, I'm a Mick, and I hate it when people get that wrong. So...
I'm sorry.
It's no offense to you. I'm just saying, you know, it's I if somebody calls me MacCulloch, I get annoyed. So,
all right. So David McEntee is writing The Schizoid Earth with a cover by Adrian Salmon. This will be published September 25th. It will be followed by Beast of Fang Rock, written by Andy Frankham Allen, with a cover by Colin Howard on October 23rd. And then Mutually Assured Domination, written by Nick Waters, with a cover by Adrian Salmon, will be released on November 20th.
All right.
It says Beast of Fang Rock has a foreword by Louise Jameson.
Yeah, because it's a sequel or prequel to Horror of Fang Rock, which, ironically, we're showing at GeekCon this year.
Oh, cool.
Because I was going to show Talons of Wang Chiang, but can't find my DVD.
Oops.
I'm a little
Everybody Wang Chiang tonight.
I'm a little annoyed by this because I know I own it and it's not in my library. Making me a little twitchy.
Blame the microsingularities.
Yeah, I'll do.
Well, yeah, it sucks. It sucks for David. His mother-in-law died. Or maybe it doesn't suck for David. It depends on his relationship with his mother-in-law. But either way, obviously there was a lot of real-life demands on his time, what with, you know, helping the family with the funeral, consoling the wife, and dealing with all that. Yeah, you're not going to have a lot of time to sit down and write, and it's going to distract you from getting everything in on deadline. That's the kind of stuff, though, that publishers need to, you know, be understanding about.
Right, and it seems that they have here.
BBC's
Yeah,
not
well,
exactly
Candy
that
Jar
kind of
does. I would have no idea what a big book publisher would be like. You know?
We'll give them 2 days.
I know when I used to cover news on Star Wars novels, I know Random House was always pushing back publications for, you know, they didn't always disclose the reasons. So I imagine that's probably similar situations there. That's not to say that they would all be the same, but...
Well, publishing doesn't get much bigger than Random House. I mean, they've been kind of, you know, huge for, like, ever. The only one that might be bigger is Simon & Schuster, but a lot of what they do, I think, is textbooks. Let's see. Schizoid Earth is now 9:25, 10:23, 11:20. So there's still Schizoid Earth should be coming out this month. No, next month.
Next month, yeah.
And then the other two, each within a month: September, October, November. So not too bad. Just a month delay, I think, isn't that?
Yep.
I don't remember what the original schedule intention was. either way, they are still coming out fairly close to now, so it wasn't delayed too badly.
Mm-hmm. So,
Right. So I guess we'll move on to our big Finish news. To start with, we have the the trailer for Jago and Lightfoot and Strax has been released, featuring some comedic dialogue by Strax and by a supporting character, which essentially is describing the premise to one of the titular characters. That special is scheduled for release this November.
Did you listen to the trailer?
I did, yes.
What kind of comedic dialogue by Strax?
Actually, he didn't deliver much comedic himself.
Okay, yeah, this definitely would not be taken as a spoiler. This is, somebody asks him if they can ask a question. He says yes, assumes that's the question, and moves on. And of course, the resulting dialogue that would happen if you did the same thing in the workplace. That's the dialogue from Strax.
They stop him, and he's just like, well, didn't you just already ask the question? No, I was asking if I could ask you a question. Oh, so you mean you wish to ask me yet another question? Why can't you humans be more upfront about it?
You know, that I don't mind so much.
I've had that conversation in the workplace, I'm pretty sure.
I don't mind that one that much. It's a lot of other Strax mannerisms that bother me, and I'm kind of hoping those get toned down. That's why I was asking.
He does the woman that's describing the premise to one of the titular characters. I forget who she's talking to.
She's talking to both Jingo and Lightfoot.
Oh, she's okay. She does mention that Strax mistakes her for a man.
Oh, jeez.
So he thinks I'm a bloke. Was her exact phrasing in Old English.
Yeah. So it's what you'd expect, basically. Moving on to our main piece of Big Finish news. The Sixth Doctor, The Last Adventure has been released. This Monday, the 17th, saw the release of the Regeneration story. Along with the release of The Last Adventure, Big Finish has announced an exclusive extra available only to those who order through BigFinish.com. So Amazon, those who purchase through Amazon will not get this extra, which is essentially an extended version of the behind-the-scenes featurette that comes with the story.
Ooh.
And will soon be available for download.
Nice.
In addition to this, to continue the celebration of the Sixth Doctor, Big Finish has released This Is Colin Baker, which is essentially an audio biography of Colin Baker, as told by the actor himself to interviewer Nicholas Briggs. So
really it should be titled Colin Baker, Worship My Ego.
I'm going to be talking to the guy who plays my Dalek enemies. Huzzah!
I know from what I've been listening to the BTS, apparently none of the Doctors actually do have a big head in person. So that's all.
Honestly, I've come to realize that the whole big ego thing is something he always puts up as a front. That's part of the Doctor character. We all know that. It's
right.
That's our Colin Baker when he's over exaggerating.
Right.
That's the same Colin who would lock his family into the house so they can watch an episode of Doctor Who with him.
Mm-hmm. One of his.
And one of his episodes too, yeah. I
take it I'm alone in having found the time to listen to this story this week.
Yeah, I haven't had the time.
This is before GeekCon, Bill. I've been doing chicken with my head.
I have been publishing 3 videos a day for the last couple days.
So I'll give my some brief thoughts on it. I'm not going to do a full rating and everything because we will be looking at this in detail later this year. I'm doing my best to avoid any sort of spoilers. Do you mind if I mention a not really kind of spoiler that will not really spoil anything, but I'm probably the only person in the world that found it funny?
Raised eyebrow. Is it a spoiler or is it a spoiler, Bill? There's only one or the other.
It's a line, but it doesn't really spoil any plot details. That's what I mean by a spoiler that's not really a spoiler. Depending on how strict you are about spoilers, whether you consider it one or not. If you're iffy about it, I'll just shut up until you've listened to it.
I haven't bought anything right now. I'm broke.
I'm saving up what little money I have for the convention.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll skip that part. But okay, so I'll just take just a brief thing. It is split into 4 separate stories in a way that really only Big Finish could do. The closest thing that they can do to it on television would be if the Face of Bo trilogy were somehow wrapped up and concluded in the end of time instead of concluding earlier. That's the type of story this is. It's split out through it's 4 parts, 3 different companions that all lead up to the major event at the end. The first story actually has 2 twists, and obviously because of the way that this was advertised, we know one of the twists. I thought that would spoil the other twist. It does not. It's actually pretty brilliantly written in that way. The other twist is legit, and I'm definitely not spoiling that.
Okay.
What's
the twist?
That is the one that's gotten the most praise. It's essentially it basically starts off as a sort of murder mystery and then becomes something completely different by the end. That's also the one that first introduces Constance. It doesn't really tell you a lot about her, but it just wouldn't be a 6th Doctor event if they weren't introducing a companion before she's actually been debuted. The second story is a Charlotte Pollard story. Nothing really special there, standard quality. Third story features is actually the first time I've heard Flip. That's also the one that features Jago and Lightfoot. So 3 established characters that I first listened to for the first time. And then the final one is with Mel. It's definitely an interesting story. It does lead directly into Time in the Rani. There is one thing I wish they did slightly differently, but I'll wait until we're actually reviewing that in person to actually say what that is. All in all, though, I would give this a thumbs up.
There probably would have been another episode if the actress that played Evelyn hadn't died.
Yes. Although I am a little surprised that they didn't do a part with Nicola Bryant.
Who was the first one with?
The first was with the new companion, Constance.
Okie doke.
And it looks like that about wraps up our news today. We're actually, actually that did take some time, so we're not too far ahead of schedule.
We're about 10 minutes.
May I make a side news note that I found out while doing my work this week?
No?
It's a quick little tidbit. So, for one of the shows that we put on Friday night at GeekCon is It Came From the Internet. For the past couple of years now, I've made it my duty to unofficially label this Japanese rock band named Sekima as the unofficial rock band of It Came From the Internet, because that's how I found them, was through the internet. As I was doing my research and preparing some more stuff with them for this year, I found out not only are they releasing a new album, but they are also having their 30th anniversary and going back on tour.
Okay.
And usually the band is only of 4 members. They're having 7 members this year. So they're bringing back a lot of the guys.
Since we have some time, I just want to look at some of the news that I had actually cut out, thinking would be extraneous, in terms of just looking at Doctor Who actors and what they're doing currently. The big one, of course, and the one that if I had thought about it, probably would have included anyway, is that Tom Baker has recently announced that he will be voicing a character in the Star Wars universe. This is most likely going to be a character for the animated show Rebels, although it could just as easily be him voicing an alien puppet or something of that nature. But nothing from any higher ups in the franchise has been stated yet. this is from Tom, allegedly from Tom's mouth.
This came from. I saw articles earlier. It came from Tom's mouth at a convention.
Yes, yeah, I saw that listed too. So
To people who use autographing stuff for. So yeah.
I would also like to state a correction.
Mm-hmm.
A couple weeks ago, I stated that Simon Pegg was the first actor to get the hat trick of science fiction, the Triple Crown, as it was. That is incorrect. Because I did forget a specific actor that did do it before Pegg.
Mm-hmm.
And that is I wasn't prepared for this, so give me a moment.
We need suspenseful music, Matt. I need to put together a soundboard.
It is oh, and of course he's not listed in the main cast for what I'm looking at.
This is why I put on Sekima, because I know that they're public domain enough.
Deep Roy is who it is, actually.
Deep Roy?
Yes. Deep Roy is a Kenyan Indian actor of diminutive size. He is he got the Triple Crown for being in the 2007 Star Trek as Keenser, Scotty's little assistant. People will know him more for being the entire cast of Oompa Loompas in the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, the one with Johnny Depp.
Mm-hmm.
But his Triple Crown comes from being originally in Doctor Who in the Talons of Wang Chiang as Mr. Sin.
Huh.
And was in both. He was a stand-in actor for Yoda in Episode 5, but he was also Droopy McCool in Return of the Jedi.
Huh.
So that officially makes him getting the Triple Crown as of 2007.
Oh, might I also add that he was also in Neverending Story 1.
Yes, that's not counting the Triple Crown of the three biggest sci-fi franchises, which is
Did he use his
Star
own
Wars,
face
Star
in
Trek,
any of those roles?
Oh, actually, he was in Flash Gordon.
That's a good way to pull that off.
I think he might have been one of the
someone
legit
beat
guys
Simon
in Flash
Pegg
Gordon.
to it.
Yep.
Yeah, somebody really beat Simon Pegg to it.
Because he got his as of 2007. Simon Pegg won't be getting the Triple Crown until this year, when the new Star Wars comes out.
Yeah, he went up to Simon Pegg. He is also in the 1980s Flash Gordon movie.
Yeah, he is also in Blake 7.
Holy cow.
Also in Poltergeist. He was in Hook as a stunt performer. He was in Leprechaun.
It's notable an actor of that particularly unusual stature that makes it into sci-fi and similar acting tends to stay there and get a lot of roles because they're always looking for aliens or Ewoks or
he was in the 2000
Leprechauns.
Planet of the Apes, making him part of the Planet of the Apes franchise.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Oh! I see him in an Ewok suit.
Yep. He was also in Transformers: Revenge of the Fallen, and there he did show his own face because he played the Egyptian border guard. So that puts him in the Transformers franchise as well. He also did show his face in at least one of his roles in Blake 7, because he appeared in Blake 7 4 times as 4 different characters. Which is interesting because the show only lasted 3 years and 4 seasons.
Yeah, that's quite a bit of work for one guy. That's not me.
Some other actors. We have Matt Smith has recently begun filming for the Netflix drama The Crown, which is based on the play The Audience, and in which he is playing Prince Philip. It is due to broadcast in 2016. Let's see here. I don't know why this roundup is including David Tennant and Jessica Jones, because that was kind of well known at this point. I am saying one interesting bit on here is that Jenna Coleman has revealed that one of her tricks for filming Doctor Who is when they need to film her, when they need to fit her into a scene that she wouldn't otherwise, she has an apple box that they call Jenna's box that she stands on.
Like a Scully box?
Is she that short?
She's 5'2", and I'm guessing Peter Capaldi is above 6 foot.
Yeah. She's apparently tiny compared to him.
He's 6 foot. He's 6 foot exactly, so he's the same height as me.
And me.
And exactly halfway between David Tennant and Matt Smith.
Yeah.
So it's a good 10 inches under Capaldi's height, so they have
Yeah.
to have her stand on a box.
So
I mean,
they,
feel like- she must feel
that's
like a
not
little
always,
kid.
but that's probably for for some of the tighter shots, or if they
Yeah.
need to be face to face.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, do they just toss a whole bunch of boxes around the set for her to stand on, then try to sweep them away quickly as possible, and they do a larger take?
Based on the description there, I take it she just had a specific box that she pulled out whenever she needed to. Makes her sound like a one of the Animaniacs, honestly, but
Makes her sound like an extra in an Ed Wood movie. Anywho.
All right, it's about 5 before, so we are up to the 5-minute challenge. Does anybody want to do the 5-minute challenge for victory? Anybody? I remind you, I did it last week. Anybody?
I'll take it if
Bueller?
no one else will.
Anybody?
Bueller.
Bueller. Jinx, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I love how we both hit that.
Alright, give me a second to load the stopwatch.
Okie doke. So I'll let you grab the stopwatch. Yeah, apparently I'm it. Once you get the stopwatch, I'll put up the title card.
I was
Alright,
going
go
to say,
ahead.
if Rand does the stopwatch, what does the stream see?
They get to see the Daleks in all their glory, in all the Technicolor.
Yeah, the thing is, though, we can't technically have Matt do the stopwatch and do the thing at the same time.
Otherwise, I'd already know what I was about to hit. Yeah. Okay,
Alright.
so ready.
And in 3, 2, 1, go.
The Doctor is contacted by Winston Churchill via phone in the TARDIS, and quickly tries to whisk off to help Winston Churchill in a apparently dire situation. By the time he gets there, it's actually been about a month later, he finds out, and Winston Churchill has moved on out of whatever this problem was. Apparently, he's recently just hired on a scientist who has a new creation called the Ironsides. The Ironsides are supposedly going to be what helps Winston win the war, and the Doctor is there to witness their testing of them. A huge wave of airplanes is brought in and suddenly shot out of the sky by laser beams with a very familiar sound to them. The Doctor is right to panic as he quickly asks what on earth those were, and a Dalek dressed in green camouflage walks out and chants, "I am your soldier." After talking with Winston, he tries to convince him that these Ironsides are actually what we know them to be, which is the Daleks. He's trying to figure out what the Daleks are up to and what their plan is, but they are not giving in on their pretend plight to be mechanical androids called Ironsides. The Doctor finally decides he's going to confront them off to one side without a whole bunch of people being able to watch him, as he's obviously getting more and more frustrated with his attempts to try and get Daleks to talk to him straight. Upon getting one of them off to the side, he gets into an enraged point where he finally starts yelling at them, knowing that he knows that they are the Daleks and that he is the Doctor, and that he will know what they're up to. To which the Daleks reply with, "We have the evidence." They apparently have another ship that's as a Dalek ship that's in orbit. Send the audio recording of the Doctor to the ship, which is being sent into a device which is starting to unlock now. The Doctor quickly realizes that this was obviously all a setup just to get him there to say something that they wanted to hear. Upon getting to the Dalek ship, he finds out that it was a plan to activate a device that would release Daleks made of pure, original, untainted Dalek DNA, and that the reason why they needed the Doctor to say this was because these Daleks are so far gone mutation-wise that they don't recognize as Daleks to the machine anymore. After this all starts beginning to happen, the Daleks also set up a plan B to get rid of the Doctor so that he won't be able to stop them from getting the new pure Daleks, which is to turn on all the lights in London as the middle of the Blitz, as the night has already fallen and they're in the middle of a Blitz that's coming up. If the lights are turned off in time, then the Blitz is going to be heavily successful and wipe out most of downtown London. The Doctor continues to try to figure out how to bring the stalemate around to his side because he does not want any more Daleks running off, especially at a stronger, better standpoint than what they used to be, instead of just one crippled ship that's about to fall apart with only a handful of Daleks. However, the new Daleks are quickly brought forth, all of them containing 5 different colors: red, orange, white, blue, and yellow. They wipe out the old Daleks, as even the old Daleks willingly let themselves get killed, and they can proceed to try and outmatch wits with the Doctor. The Doctor has to give up his tactic of using a Jammy Dodger as a explosive device for the TARDIS and has to go into cover. But still being on the Dalek ship, he's able to lower their shields as a flight of enhanced battle planes are brought into high atmosphere and finally do battle with the Dalek ship. They manage to finally down the shields long enough to take down the dish, which also turns off the lights. However, the Daleks also convince the Doctor to leave, as they mention the fact that the scientists that they had created, which was a fake android, is actually also a time bomb, and that he needs to go down to Earth, and he has no choice as the Daleks escape. They managed to bring back the scientist's memories of a long-lost love that he could not pursue back in his life, that as far as he can remember of it, and manages to calm the bomb, but at the same time the Doctor is now well aware that the Daleks have succeeded in their plan and actually have one victory under their belt. But all in all, he still managed to save the Earth and also managed to save London. So, a loss, but not a huge one, thankfully. And that more or less covers our story.
All right. You did it in 0503.
Oh! Split 3.03 seconds. Oh.
The most important 3 seconds of your life.
3 seconds, but just shortened by 3 seconds. So close. By a hair.
So close and yet so far, Matt.
And that's just taking out all the side stuff like I've mentioned before. You need to kind of do that once in a while. I just focused on the main plot.
I'm sorry, that first minute, you managed to say Winston Churchill about 4 times. You were suffering from Bob Dole syndrome.
Churchill. Well, he's in so much of it, though.
Yes, but, you could have shaved seconds by simply saying he or him rather than Winston Churchill. And
you know what to save 3 seconds? You included a scene from the previous serial.
Was that the previous serial?
The Doctor did not get the phone call.
I guess that was the end of the previous serial, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It's still necessary to set it up, though.
Yeah, I would have included that. Thing is, I would not have used Winston Churchill like 4 times.
Well, you gotta tell the part that he's, because there's like 3-4 guys running around. You can't just say he to everything.
Winston or Churchill would have worked as well.
Well, it's kind of panicking, so I just went with the full name.
The PM.
Yeah, it's like you used it twice in one sentence, and it was just like, really? Winston Churchill knows with that. Winston Churchill hangs out with Bob Dole.
Winston Churchill is also a cyborg.
Yeah. Anyway, so let's go on to our things you like, things you don't like. So what do you like in general, Matt? Actually, let me before I give that straight to you. No, it's still you.
Was there any doubt?
Hey, I'm on a different computer today, so you might have actually been a different order on my Skype, but no, you're not.
Aaron was going to be first.
I will say offhand, one thing I definitely liked was the setup. The setup for this was some of the better writing of that season, to be honest. We have a really good actor who plays a really good straight-on Winston Churchill. The Matt Smith Doctor is being very doctorish as he is, again, kind of having mental flashes back to the Time War, and that obviously is making him more and more angry as he has to try to figure out what these guys are up to. And there's a lot of really creepy undertones with the Daleks as they continue to pretend to be soldiers for the humans, and you're just waiting for that foot to fall.
Yeah, this, while you do say this was obviously not an episode that was written for Matt Smith at the time.
Possibly.
It was written more... I mean, it wasn't written for Tennant, but it was written along the generic Doctor lines.
Yes. But at the same time, each Doctor has to deal with the Time War, and usually the Doctor deals with the Time War with a lot of anger.
What I mean is it wasn't over-the-top Matt Smith.
Mm-hmm.
You know, what we would see in later seasons, especially not season 7 Matt Smith, where he's acting like a hyperactive 5-year-old.
Yeah, and in the first half of season 5, the Doctor handles anger very differently than he would in the following seasons.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a little more generic, closer to Tennant than anything else, because that's pretty much the template they had to work with.
For angry doctors, yeah.
So, okay, what did you like, Bill?
I'm actually going to say Amy. This isn't the point where she's, still the new companion. They're trying to impress us with her. And she hits a lot. I mean, she doesn't have a huge role in the story, but she hits a lot of very, very different notes as a character and as an actor. And I just think, I think she did a very good job, and it's kind of notable.
All right, Tim.
I just love the idea of this story in general. The idea of crossover between Daleks and Winston Churchill is just very tantalizing.
Yeah, but at the same time, you'd expect the Daleks to be working on the side of the Nazis, because they have very similar mentalities.
Well, they're not there to help Churchill win.
Yeah, I know, but
they're there because they know the Doctor likes to visit London.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
It's just the fact that, if you think about Daleks in World War II, you would think of them more as being like a German secret weapon than you would a British one.
And there could always be another story where they're working for the Germans.
Because,
both sides.
There will always be another chance for Dalek German.
Well, it's like the Nazis, the Daleks go for racial purity, just saying. All right, so what I liked about this serial is Winston Churchill. Just about every scene that Churchill in was wonderful.
Churchill in.
Well, it was in, yeah. That had Churchill in it. Sorry.
English
was wonderful. Yes, I can speak the language. I can speak English. I can speak English, mate.
I can speak English, my Führer. I mean, my president.
Somebody been watching Dr. Strangelove recently?
That was a reference, yes.
But yes, every scene that had Churchill in it was a wonderful episode. The one that was near the end where they're talking about they've lost contact with the Doctor, and Amy's just like, what do we do? It's just like, well, we do what he'd want us to do. We bugger on. And it's just like, wow, that's so incredibly Winston Churchill. The actor just does a wonderful job at making a believable Winston Churchill, a lot better than the Richard Nixon the following season.
Yeah. Which is why I'm hopeful for his return as Winston Churchill.
So am I. Okay,
It's
so
an interesting
things you don't like about the episode. Matt.
Well, I mentioned the first half. So, the elephant in the room, the second half of the story, while the idea of it is really good, the execution of it is heavily flawed. There's a lot to be desired. In particular, it's nice to bring back the multicolored Daleks, but there shouldn't be that many colors, and there's also far too few of them. Literally, you are seeing them all on screen for the people who are watching this video.
All right. I will say more about that with mine, because I have a very...
Yeah, I don't want to take all of it, because I'm sure others will have more input on that too, so...
Yep. Bill, what didn't you like about this episode?
I think it's going to be my duty to say the first half, in the fact that not every bit of the first half, but the whole idea that it's one thing to draw inspiration from a previous Doctor Who story. It's a whole other thing to assume that nobody's listened to a lost episode and to just copy plot points verbatim, changing
Power.
a word.
Actually, evil, I think, isn't it?
Power.
Power. It is power, yeah.
I knew it was power.
I get the two confused because they're both first season Patrick Troughtons that don't exist anymore except in audio.
I just remember evil is the one with the human factor because, well, the Dalek factor is evil.
Mm.
But yeah, I like this story much more before I watched Power of the Daleks and realized just how little of this story was written by Mark Gatiss and how much of it was written by David Whittaker.
Technically written by David Whittaker, lifted from some of the works by David Whittaker.
All right. Tim, what didn't you like?
It didn't go big enough.
Yeah.
This was a World War II story with Winston Churchill. It features Matt Smith's first encounter with the Daleks, and it features the brand new Daleks. This should have been at least an epic two-parter story.
Should have had more budget and should have definitely been a two-parter. I totally agree.
You'll notice, though, that Stephen Moffat has never done a two-parter Dalek story.
Hopefully that'll change.
Stephen Moffat has been trying to tone down the Daleks because Russell T was big on Daleks.
But the problem is, which makes sense if he doesn't use them every season.
Yeah. And I'm going to do something about that door just a
like
moment.
doing small scale, doing constant small scale Dalek stories does not tone them down. It just oversaturates them.
Yeah, I agree with you to that extent. If you should only be doing a Dalek story if you have a good Dalek story, you know. And we really haven't had a good Dalek story, and this is arguable, but I'm stating it. Other than Day of the Doctor, which is more a Zygon story and a Doctor character piece than it is a Dalek story, since they only briefly appear in there.
If the Daleks won awards.
Yes, they did. But
yeah, I get your point. The Daleks aren't really a villain in that episode other than a background piece.
Mm-hmm. But there hasn't been, a really big Dalek episode since Russell T. And he had some doozies. Bad Wolf, Parting of the Ways was an epic Dalek story. Army of Ghosts Doomsday was an epic Cybermen and Dalek story.
Mm-hmm.
Stolen Earth Journey's End
was an epic story.
Dalek story.
Daleks in Manhattan, Evolution of the Daleks was not a good story. So we'll stay away from that one. But since then, I mean, we'll rate this one. But we harp on Asylum of the Daleks constantly. Largely because it promised much and sparketh not.
Yeah.
Tried to distract us with a lady in a red dress.
That only works in the Matrix, damn it.
What was the season 6 Dalek episode?
That they appeared in the Wedding of River Song. They did not have a
but it was an ensemble piece, not really a Dalek thing. And having stuff in an ensemble piece, Bill, is okay. When you're doing stuff like that, because that's like saying there was a Cyberman episode in episode 5 because they showed up in Pandorica Opens briefly. But it really wasn't about the Cybermen. And Wedding of River Song was not about the Daleks.
I'm more saying the Cybermen have appeared in many episodes and been a major threat in very few, which kind of diminishes them as a credible threat when they appear on screen.
Yeah, the Cybermen do need a little more loving.
But, I feel the Daleks, I don't feel the Daleks have been overused in Moffat's era.
But no,
Bill, so I disagree with you on that.
Overused, no, but they are still getting used.
Okay, so where were we? Was it Tim?
I think it was Tim's turn.
Yep.
So, Tim, your thoughts. What did you not like? Or was that? No. Yeah, it's Tim's turn.
I already went.
Oh.
I said
it didn't
go
big
enough.
enough. I was wondering where that tangent came from. I'm like, did that tangent really come from mine? I'm like, no, it came from Tim's.
Yeah, that came from Tim's. Yeah, it wasn't big enough, and totally agree with that. It was by no means big enough.
Okay,
they couldn't afford a 5th new prop. Or a 6th new prop.
Anyway, what I didn't like about this episode was the Daleks. In particular, the new Daleks. I didn't like how they looked. I didn't like the color patterns. I didn't like it at all. We have referred to them as the Sentai Daleks because of the 5 color and the layout they've had. But what we haven't really talked about was their redesign. Yes, they made them taller, but they did so by changing their basic shape to emphasize the skirt and minimize the top part of the Dalek, making them look, instead of like a pepper pot, looking a little bit like a marital aid. The eye stalk in particular is atrocious to me.
I will agree that the eye stalk really could have used a redesign, because that just doesn't quite work. When the other older Dalek models look better than yours in the eye stalk alone, you've already failed at step 1.
Mm-hmm.
I know the eye stalk was supposed to be going for a frightening organic look, but to me
it just looks like a glass eye. It doesn't look organic at all.
Yeah.
It does. It really failed at that, and it lost what made the new Doctor Who Dalek eye stalks and the original eye stalks so cool, and that was that little camera, the opening, closing eye.
Yeah.
Right.
And because that gave them a sense of reaction and to an extent emotion.
Mm-hmm.
They were able to react more than the other ones, because if you remember, the classic Daleks lost that moving camera bit too, and that eye stalk became just a series of rings, and the Daleks lost a little bit when they did that, and they gained it back with these. So why take it away again?
Right.
Finally, the Dalek chassis annoys me, because what it looks like is that all the new Daleks are made of carbon fiber. It's actually probably just fiberglass painted, but it looks like it's made of carbon fiber. which is not what you want a Dalek chassis to be made of. Daleks are supposed to be mobile tanks. They're little green blobs in basically mobile tanks, is what Daleks are. And those things look like you could break the shell with a BB gun. They literally do. They look fragile.
I think that's mostly due to the color palette, and I would actually blame the color palette on these being fresh new Daleks that just got quickly created.
It's not the color palette, it's the material texture I'm referring to. Their shells feel like they're made of carbon fiber or fiberglass, which are meant to be light, not meant to be durable.
Which again...
the bronze one look a little bit more like they're made of something that you could make a tank out of, whereas these look like they're a display model.
Which again, the color palette kind of blends into, because what you paint it with also helps with that texture.
The color panel emphasizes it, yeah.
Yeah. The fact that they made these such mute two colors just kind of that looks plasticky.
It makes it look plasticky. The grill piece, I was actually focusing on the grill plate in the lower part of the head.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like it's made of construction plastic rather than actual grate.
Yeah.
It looks like it's made of plastic rather than metal.
Yeah, the number one flaw of these guys is that they look like they're made out of Rubbermaid.
I wouldn't say Rubbermaid. That's disrespectful to Rubbermaid. It looks like they came out of an injection mold, Matt. Seriously. Well, no. They don't look that bad, but they look like the same stuff that they make PC cases out of. They look like They look like iDaleks.
And if done right, that wouldn't be a bad thing. But these are such a bad paint-up job for these guys. Just ugh.
Yeah, and it just everything about them, the emphasized skirt, everything. I just hated it the moment I saw it, because they changed it just enough that it didn't look like a proper Dalek to me. And then they go on touting these as being the product of pure Dalek DNA. It just kind of went, no. Now, it occurred to me...
While we're talking about the design, one thing I just want to mention, supposedly if you I don't know if you look at any images of the back, the way the back doesn't go, or the way the bumps don't go all the way around like they did in the previous, the back has a sort of slit. Yeah. Supposedly they're supposed to have a new weapon that comes out of that. Although I'm kind of wondering if they scrapped that idea after the overwhelmingly negative reaction to the changes.
That's supposed to be a new weapon. By the way, I have the action figure of the blue one.
Now, it occurred to me while watching this today. Looking at the trailer with those remake of the classic Daleks, if that door had opened and they had came out with a color-coded look with the classic Dalek shell, I would have been drooling.
Oh yeah, if it would have been more of a classic shell, and they had just done just right, that would have been far more better.
Yeah, I could have bought that, with the traditional skirt patterns like you see on the new ones and closer to the classic colors.
Right.
And what uber bugs me is the Supreme Dalek being a white Dalek.
Oh yeah. I mean, I could kind of see that as being something Davros would do, but he wouldn't have all the other colors in that case.
Yeah. No, he wouldn't have. But the thing is, it's traditional for the Dalek Supreme to be either black or red,
or gold, white. As of Remembrance. And
gold was another thing.
Gold was Dalek leader.
Well, gold were the top Daleks that answered to Davros during the Dalek Civil War.
Yeah, but those aren't traditional Daleks. Those are Imperial Daleks. It's a different color schema. We're talking classic Daleks from 3rd, 4th, etc. Dalek eras. If you go back to the black and white, it's always the leader Dalek being a black Dalek. and they was usually referred to as the Dalek Supreme.
Third Doctor, did the gold answer to the black or the other way around? I can't remember.
The black answer to the gold.
The black answered to the gold, which answered to the red.
Mm-hmm. Because, yeah, presumably the red was almost always off-world.
And here they make the red, I believe, is the drone, so it's technically the lowest ranked of the 5.
Which, yeah, that's...
Which actually harkens back to the original design of them, actually, because the red and the blue... The reds were supposed to be drones, the blues were supposed to be scientists, then you had a black leader.
Is this coming from the old movie?
This is coming from the movies, as well as the first... the intent of the first 2 or 3 stories from...
By the way, Matt, if you're probably not watching the Skype. I wasn't sure if you had an image showing the back of the Daleks from what I was.
I am right now.
Okay.
Because I was able to look at the back of my action figure for that too, and it's like that doesn't look like a weapon. That looks like it's a gigantic robotic zipper.
It's supposed to be like an arm that folds out type of deal.
No, that doesn't look like anything.
I remember seeing. I looked at some concept art a while back of it.
But yeah, I mean, even if you look at these things, which one am I more scared of? I'm more scared of the Daleks on the left than I am of the Daleks on the right.
The Daleks on the left look ragtag and beaten up, like they actually survived something. These new guys look
it's not the ragtag, just the basic shape and everything. These things look like hunchback Daleks. The Hunchback of Dalek Dame. Like I said, they look like oversized marital aids.
I will say that the design is flawed in one thing in particular, which is that it's too chubby. It's too chubby around the midsection. That back did not need to be as far back as it went.
Yeah.
And it looks like the heads are supposed to bob up and down on those things. It's
yeah, it does. It looks like if the Dalek walked up and it looks like the Doctor could walk up and smack it in the head, and it would accordion.
It looks like it'd be a bobblehead Dalek. It really does.
Or it could be Rock'em Sock'em Daleks.
It absolutely looks like
punch
a toy.
him in the eye stalk.
That's what it looks like. It looks like a toy.
Mm-hmm. I'm showing my toy right now.
And that's the main issue: is you're not scared of a toy. The Daleks on the left, I would be scared of because they look like a rolling tank.
I bet they look more like World War II tanks in this than they have ever done before.
Yes.
Yes.
But the other ones look like a plastic child safety toy. Like an under the age of 5 toy.
I'm pretty sure these were at least age of 6 holding up the actual toy.
And that is why I don't like them. They don't make me afraid. They make me want to point and laugh.
Speaking of which, I should look and see if I can get some more Daleks this weekend.
So, scenes that you liked, Matt.
Oh, scene that I liked. I guess the one I have to go with will be the moment that the Doctor finally confronted with the Daleks and then started to piece together what they were up to. And the moment that he cornered one of the green camouflage ones and started yelling at it and beating it and finally got a confession, but only after he gave them what they were looking for.
The eye of the Doctor and you are the Daleks speech.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Yeah, that was a moment. It's also an epic Doctor blunder moment, which is actually kind of cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't see that too often. He fell for the trap. Without even thinking about it, he fell for the trap.
Mm-hmm. He was so busy wondering what the Daleks were doing that he didn't realize that's exactly what they wanted him to do. That's kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Bill.
I'm going to go with the pre-credit scene. It's a very strong introduction to both the setting and to Winston Churchill.
All right. I could see that. Although, technically, we did get introduced to Winston Churchill. I believe we actually saw him
For a couple seconds.
True.
at the end of the last episode. We saw him in his office making a phone call.
An introduction for the episode to him then.
Yeah, that was a good introduction. Tim.
I think my favorite scene was the Jammy Dodger bluff
That
scene.
was a fun bluff.
Just the way he held it in his mannerisms. And it was a nice callback to that scene from the Fourth Doctor when he
With the
threatened
jelly
that
baby?
guy with the jelly baby. Stay back or I will kill him with this deadly jelly baby.
Go on, kill him then. No one gives me orders, eats the jelly baby. Take me to your leader, hands up.
And then he tries to play like cool. It's like, all right, it's just a Jammy Dodger, but I had you go in there for a moment, you know. And then he like eats the.
Did he say like I was promised? Yeah, I was promised.
Yeah, he said he was promised tea.
I was promised tea.
Then he quickly finishes his jammy dodger before ducking Dalek blasts. Which, by the way, may I mention that the Daleks still have the aiming skill of a stormtrooper.
It doesn't help that they always warn the target before shooting.
True.
We must be fair. We cannot exterminate without stating our intent to do so.
Exterminate! Why do they always run? I hate the running part. So I believe it's up to Randy now, isn't it? We already did, or did we do
yes.
Bill? Yeah, we did Bill.
We did Bill.
Yes, we did.
I don't know if
Did
we
Bill,
did Tim.
we did Tim.
We did
Tim just said his bit.
Fortunately,
Jammy
Matt
Dodger.
stole my favorite scene because, of course, it was a Dr. Epic speech scene.
Oh.
There's still a couple more little bits you could.
I think it's probably then the point that we first see the Dalek. Although I do lose that once he says the "I am your soldier," but seeing him in the whole World War II lively and
Noting that apparently in that scene they specifically dragged out start saying the word soldier to make members of the audience who were in the know think that they were going to say servant.
so they knew they were stealing. They just wanted it to.
Wanted to hit a sudden different note and go, But no. We still know where you got that from, and we still claim you on that.
All right.
Because if you lampshade it, that means it's no problem.
It's an homage, Bill.
Oh, Maggie.
So, it's now Scenes We Hate.
Yep, scenes we hate. Starting with you, Matt.
So many scenes I want to punch in the face. I think the biggest offender is the fact that we introduce these Daleks, and not only do they look a bit chubby and clunky trying to squeeze out of that door, but then they proceed to even fail killing the Doctor, who is literally standing there in front of them for 5 minutes.
At least they succeed better than the previous incarnation because they realize that the Jammy Dodger is not a self-destruct device.
True, but still, that's not much of an improvement.
Yeah, well, the Doctor did threaten with no scans.
And these Daleks obviously were scanning him the entire time.
Mm-hmm.
Probably
I think they had a Dalek specific for that purpose.
Probably. That might have been actually blue. It was either blue or yellow, I think, was doing that. Actually, no, maybe blue or orange. It's not a explosive device.
Alright, Bill.
I'm going to say the scene where he disarms the explosion by remembering his fake memories.
Oh man.
We stopped the world
That was
from going
gonna be
kaboom
mine.
by the power of heartache.
That is the scene that yanked me out of the episode, punched me in the face, and told me to go make a sandwich.
Oh.
It took that long?
That there were ups and downs along the ride, but that scene is where it's just like, no, train stopped, get off.
Now go make me some cold cuts, bitch. Slap.
Yeah, it was kind of a what the hell. And now I think Tim has to scurry to find a new least favorite scene.
Tim, you got one? There's lots of quiet from Tim. Oh, did we lose Tim?
Yeah.
May have.
I think we lost Tim. Nope, I think he's back.
I'm back. Sorry, I
He
got
was
cut
so
off.
upset that I took
Just
his
in
scene
time.
that he had to quit the call for a few seconds.
Yeah. Well, actually, I that was my least favorite scene for an entirely different reason, though.
Oh.
But I'll choose another scene.
Well, state why
There
There
you
were
didn't
lots
like
of
his,
reasons I hated that scene. I just
state
described
why
it
you
as
didn't
briefly
like that.
as I could.
Why you had an issue with that scene, and then give one of your own. We have time.
Okay. I didn't like that scene because it missed a golden opportunity. That could have been the best scene ever if he actually became a real person. If the power of his belief turned him into a real boy. Like when they're saying you are a human being, you believe you are a human being. If like the sparkles came down from the sky, like in Disney's Beauty and the Beast, and he rose up into the air, and there was this blinding flash of light, and
When you wish upon a star,
Serious, Bill.
matter who you
Seriously,
are.
Tim.
Looks up at the Dalek and Hitler, except for you two.
I don't think so, Tim.
And then Jiminy Cricket came down and
He's
perched
like-
upon his shoulder.
it's like,
This is
Oh,
Doctor Who, not the magical world of Disney.
I'm just saying, if you're gonna go there, go all the way. You know, it's like,
I have to agree with Tim on that. A little bit, in a way.
I'll be
If you're
hurting
gonna go
both
that
of you.
silly, go
I'll
all
be
the way
hurting-
silly.
Hurting both of you on that tomorrow.
If you're gonna
Yeah.
go silly, go all the way silly, dang it.
another scene that I'm just reminded of that didn't go all the way was that scene where they meet the Doctor and the Doctor and Amy meet the Scottish scientist, and they're all like, "Yeah, well, as soon as we get done with whatever we're doing, we're gonna come back for you. So don't go away. So we'll be back in 20 minutes. Yes, 20 minutes. All right, I'll be here. Actually, I think it would be 30. It's like, you know, that
I actually
scene.
liked that scene.
That was,
Yeah, I didn't mind that scene.
Well, I think it could have been like just better, like better acted, better written. Something could have. Like I said, the idea, the spark was there.
yeah.
Just and maybe like it could have been written a little more naturally.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it did seem a little stilted slightly, but otherwise it was a good scene. Otherwise,
Mm-hmm.
it just needed a little punching up, maybe.
Yep.
I don't know. I actually have that. That's on my fondness list. See, I should have named that scene, and then we would have actually we would have had an argument then.
A you and Flint fight moment.
Kind of, yeah. All right. So just to rock the boat. Well, just to rock the boat. I'm serious here. My least favorite scene is the Spitfires in space scene.
Oh man, that was the best scene.
It's hammy, but it's not like horrible hammy.
I minded it less when I knew what was coming. The first time I watched it, or the first couple times I watched it, I was like, what the hell?
That's part of it.
The fact that they put that together in like a few minutes.
Yeah, that is a little over the top, but then again, it is a cyborg that put together.
That's the other part of it, is they put it together in no time.
If this was something that the scientist had put together like a month in advance and it was a prototype, so he hadn't gotten around to showing Winston yet.
Well, he already apparently had plans.
The second part that I didn't like is the fact that I'm watching this, and I could literally hear Yuri Gagarin spinning in his grave in Russia. So for those of you that don't know, Yuri Gagarin is the Russian Soviet astronaut that is the first human to journey into outer space in 1961. The third part is I realized that basically what they were doing is reenacting the climax of the battle scene from Independence Day.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it's also the climax to the first story arc in the original Battlestar Galactica.
Pretty much. It just felt overused hype, and the Spitfires in space just, I don't know, it just made me twitch.
I don't know, it gave me inner glee that it was actually old-timey Spitfires actually doing it, though. It's just, that's a slight touch of outlandish that made it slightly amusing.
And then, of course, the whole concept of Spitfires actually taking down and harming a Dalek spaceship was also...
They only were able to do it because the Doctor was able to take down the shields.
Even there, it's still like hitting an M1 tank with a BB gun.
Yeah, but they also happened to hit the little tiny antenna on the M1 tank. The antenna is by no means armor protected.
And then they turn around and
I can tell you from years of watching Star Wars that taking out the antenna does not take out the ship.
Yes.
No, but it did what they at least were meant to do, which is turn off the lights.
I mean, no, they're epic trench battle is what Bill is referring to.
I'm talking about the amount of times the communications dish was knocked off the Falcon.
Yeah. You realize the epic trench battle in Star Wars was only put in there because the designer that made the Death Star was cheap, right?
Or what about the time in Return of the Jedi when the crashed A-Wing took out the Super Star Destroyer?
By suicide bombing through the bridge.
Technically, that does hurt.
Don't talk about that battle because I'm still mad they took Tycho Selchu's name out of the fucking encyclopedia for the new canon.
Okay. Took out whose name for new canon?
The A-Wing that survived the battle is driven by a pilot named Tycho Selchu, and because he wasn't named on screen, they took him. He was the only rogue member of Rogue Squadron whose name was taken out of canon from the movies.
Ooh.
Oh, dang.
Yeah, that is bullshit.
Unless they've decided they're going to rename that character and have it coming out in later. You know,
there will literally be a riot. There will be angry fangirls with literal torches.
We'll see. But anyway, no, because of all those stacked issues on that in my brain, I cannot watch that without having to get up and go get a sandwich.
Oh, by the way,
it actually slightly annoys me that they come back in which episode is it they come back in?
Good Man Goes to War.
Yes. Especially since they went out of their way to say that they took the tech away.
and then all of a sudden there's Danny Boy again, literally with the exact same ship.
Yeah. In fact, I'm pretty sure it was stock footage.
Although, this is
Stock
an issue
CG.
that I initially had, but I think I was wrong. I always thought that was Winston Churchill in the Spitfire. It wasn't, right?
No, it was Danny Boy.
Never. It
Okay,
was
because
Danny Boy.
I always thought that Danny Boy was Winston Churchill.
No, not even
I
close.
think I don't know if their names or their voices were just similar enough to catch on me. I thought that was Winston Churchill at being Danny Boy, and I was like, how the fuck is he in that plane?
No,
If it's not him, so
Bill,
that
they
makes
don't
sense,
sound alike. They don't even look alike. It's a guy with a full head of hair.
You see Danny Boy's face, do you?
You see it through a mask, and he has a full head of hair.
Oh.
And he's definitely not as heavy-set as Winston. By the way, speaking of Winston, I like the little references constantly throughout by the Lamp Doctor where he just keeps throwing the peace sign around. Because Winston apparently did that once for a popular picture. Huh?
You mean the victory sign?
Or was it victory back then? I don't know.
Yes,
V
it
for
wasn't.
victory.
It wasn't used for peace until the 60s, possibly 70s. But it was V was it was always V for victory, especially during the World Wars or during World War II. At least I don't know.
Yeah,
if it was out
did that symbol actually come out until like VE Day?
I know it was used as V for victory at the end of World War II. I don't know when specifically.
I do know that there's a popular picture of Winston Churchill doing it too, though, to the camera. So
Yeah, he was the main
which
one.
is where I'm assuming they're getting the nod from. So it's just like 4 or 5 times the Doctor does it during this episode.
Let's see.
At least I noticed.
I'm trying to see if I can
It
actually
was
find
first popularized in January 1941 by a Belgian politician in exile.
Oh, okay. So it was already there by the time VE Day came around, but it started shortly before. Okay.
And it started being used for peace by the peace movement of the 60s.
Mm-hmm.
Basically taking the idea that, victory was used for, V for victory was used for the end of the war. They took that for peace to be the end of the war.
All right. So it is time to start giving our final thoughts. Go ahead and lead us off on that, Matt.
Final thoughts. This was full of really good ideas. Sadly, the last half of this particular story left a lot to be desired for how it came off. The new designs for the Daleks needed some more time to digest and get some proper work done on them yet. They kind of seemed a bit rushed out, and they were left the way they were for a couple more appearances yet, sadly. Otherwise, the setup for it, the idea of it, all kind of meshed together pretty well, and also, if nothing else, despite the lackluster final act, Winston Churchill throughout is remarkably well done, and I cannot wait for him to hit Big Finish in a huge way. And that's about all my thoughts on it.
Bill?
This is an episode with a fair number of good ideas, but it definitely needed more. It's one of those episodes where it definitely needed more attention to the script, a few more rewrites, and double the budget to actually pull off the ideas that it had nearly as well. Even then, curing an android with the power of love is a combination of sloppy, overly cheesy, and just ridiculous. Basically an episode that just could have been a good episode, but really needed to go back and do it again.
Tim?
I'm gonna follow the trend and agree with you all, except for the curing the android with the power of love was the greatest thing ever. Except, like I said, he should have been really cured and turned into a flesh and blood man.
Why would the Daleks ever
by the
program
way,
that into him?
If that succeeded at turning into a flesh and blood boy, Data would have been calling his lawyer because that never happened to him.
Yes, but the ideas were there. It's just the execution fell flat.
Mm-hmm.
Or they missed the mark. They fell too short. They should have expanded the story. It should have been an event. It should have.
And it got close, but it didn't quite reach it. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm actually going to be far harsher on this than you guys.
God.
Okay.
Because I liked this episode a lot better before I watched all the other Dalek serials, and in particular Power of the Daleks, and knew where a good chunk of this was coming from. Because like Matt, I liked the first half of this until you got into the second half. But now I realize that a good chunk of what I liked about the first half was derivative from Power. It's basically Power of the Daleks with a World War II theme, and the second half of it is crap. There's a couple of good scenes, but the majority of it is just blah. The new Daleks are a complete failure. I find the ending and the climax to be pretty much so over the top that it actually annoys me, and I find it to be largely a waste of material. This was definitely an episode that, first of all, they really shouldn't plagiarize from dead writers. And secondly, they need to actually go back and make sure that what they're writing makes sense. And second of all, whoever designed the Sentai Daleks needs to be fired. And
Probably
go away.
was. Probably already were, Randy.
Matt, your rating for this episode.
Normally I probably would actually, due to so many flaws in the second half, I would have probably given this a 2.5 maybe, but I have to say the addition of a extremely well done Winston Churchill, who's now getting his chance to do it again, it knocks it up to a 3 for me. So it kind of lands in the middle of the road, which is still not a good place to be.
All right, Bill.
The ups and downs in this episode probably would have landed at a high 2.5 if it were an original episode. But just because of the amount of this that is straight up copy and pasted, that's going to cost it a 0.5 point and put it at a 2.0.
All right. Tim.
I just love the idea of the whole story and the ideas in the story so much that it really boosts it up, but then again, the execution brings it back down, so I'm going to give it a 4.
I feel like you've grown. I feel like when we first started doing this, you would have given us a 5.
All right. Well,
I considered that.
we are looking at something that would have been given a 1 by me because it's an unoriginal work, and what was original was an absolute failure. However, Winston Churchill does raise this level because his acting basically is a light in the tunnel for this episode, so I am going to give it a 2 along with Bill.
Which brings it down to about 2.5?
2.75.
2.75.
Yep. Which,
It's probably one of the lowest Dalek stories ever.
no, not quite.
There's only maybe one or two more that are lower than this one, but we'd be hard
I
pressed.
think it actually is. Let me sort these.
Probably like second or third from the bottom.
Um,
I'm
Let's
sure there's
see.
gotta be at least one worse Dalek story.
Let's see. Victory of the Daleks comes in at number 99, of our listings at
Oh,
a
I'm sorry.
2.8. It
Daleks
does.
in Manhattan is the one Dalek story that's lower.
Yes, I figured that one would be lower. Daleks in Manhattan is a 2.6, 2.5. This comes in at a 2.8. We will get Aaron's ratings, so this may retroactively change next week. Speaking of which, Tim, I believe you were absent last week.
Yes, due to internet problems.
Did you actually finish watching Stolen Earth Journey's End? Or Stolen Earth Journey's End.
Yes, I did.
Okay.
And
Do you want to give a brief final thought and rating on it?
Final thought. This was a fantastic story, I think. Is and well executed. Like it was a big idea, and they did it big. And the final end, the bittersweet departure of Donna, was, I think, a textbook case of how to do that well. You know, like how to have a sad ending done well, and it seemed natural. It didn't seem forced. Or tacked on, which is my big complaint mainly with most of the sad endings in Doctor Who episodes. But I just loved all the scenes and the way it mixed the goofy stuff with the more serious, somber stuff. It seemed like it was goofy when it should be goofy, and it was serious when it should be serious. So I'm gonna give that's gonna get 5 stars for me.
All right, that's a 5.0.
That's still a
I
5.
that one to a 4.7.
Ooh.
That moves it 4.7. That ranking will not move it in the rankings. It's still at number 10.
Still, the 10th overall is not a bad place to be at.
No.
Looking at Dalek and Doctor stories specifically, since we've gone through all of our Dalek stories within the Doctor Who canon, this is putting us at with Remembrance of the. And by the way, this is only including scores by those that are current members of the cast, because the sheet that I'm working off of for this specific item does not have anyone who was a guest or is not with us. Remembrance of the Daleks and Day of the Doctor at 5.0. Genesis of the Daleks and Dalek at 4.8. Stolen Earth Journey's End alone at 4.7. Army of Ghosts Doomsday at 4.5. Dalek Invasion of Earth at 4.3. Frontier in Space and Destiny of the Daleks at 4.2. Bad Wolf Parting of the Ways at 4.17. Death to the Daleks at 4.1. The Chase and Into the Dalek at 3.9, which for some reason is listed twice on what I have here, so something's wrong with that, but I'll figure it out. Day of the Daleks at 3.8. The Daleks at 3.
It does actually. Stolen Earth Journey's End does jump to number 9.
Ah.
Oh.
Although why that does that, I'm not sure, because it shouldn't, because the core rating should have increased. Because it's basically tied at rating with Day of the Doctor, but the core rating for Day of the Doctor is 5.0, whereas this one's 4.6. So I'm not sure why that did that.
Okay. Day of the Daleks at 3.8. The Daleks at 3.7. Resurrection at 3.6. Jubilee at 3.5. Terra Firma at 3.4. Evil at 3.3. Planet of the Daleks also at 3.3. The Daleks Master Plan at 3.2. Power of the Daleks at 3.17. Revelation and Asylum tied at 3.0. And then Victory of the Daleks and Daleks in Manhattan, Evolution of the Daleks. So those are from best to worst, all of the Dalek stories, not counting any Big Finish that we have not reviewed.
And Saturday, prepare for crazy. They're going to try and do it live again.
Yes. So this Saturday night, we at GeekCon there will be, as there was last year, a live podcast. The
Attempt
podcast
two at-
group will. Sorry.
Attempt 2 at a live broadcast. Attempt 1 didn't go so well. It got recorded, but not broadcast live.
Right. Yeah. So do it again. It all depends on how the hotel internet works in terms of allowing us to stream.
We hope to at least be able to get Bill in. That's our first concern.
Yes, if we have enough if the internet's sufficient, I will be there as a Skype member. There will not be a second panel hosted by the podcast group, at least in terms of Doctor Who, this year. So that will be the one to go to.
Yep, and the topic for this particular podcast will be Series 9. We are going to go into depth on rumors and make our official predictions. And Bill is working on seeing how many of our predictions last year from the panel actually came out correct.
Which may come out in one of the subsequent versions of the live podcast that we do.
All right, so hope to see you there or see you online on it. And then next week, we are going to, since we have concluded our Doctor Who stuff, we are going to go on and actually go back to the 60s with the movies and Peter Cushing. So that'll be Doctor Who and the Daleks.
Doctor Who and the Daleks and Doctor Who Invasion of Earth 2000.
Well, that'll be the week after. But Doctor Who and the Daleks.
But Doctor Who and the Daleks next weekend.
Yep.
Yeah, next week Wednesday.
Next Wednesday.
Next Wednesday.
Actually, I got an idea for an opening on that one. Boom, 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 boom. Boom, ba,
Right.
boom, ba.
If you enjoy listening to us, please consider subscribing to us on Twitch.tv, on YouTube, and on Mixcloud.com. You can also like and follow on Facebook and Twitter for news and updates. And if you really want, you can go on over to Patreon.com/Unearthly Podcast in order to support us. Maybe increase the number of places where we do live podcasts.
Maybe.
Till then, hope to hear from as many as possible in Madison at GeekCon, or of course join us next week.
See you all next time.
Fare thee well.
And with that, stopping the stream.